Hey everyone! So for today's video, I'm going to show you how I pre-sprout my dahlias. Now, I don't think this is the method most people use to pre-sprout their dahlias. In fact, I've never actually seen someone do it, although I'm sure people have. But because I grow mine in containers, I kind of do things a little bit differently. I did this last year and it worked, so that's why I'm going to do it again this year. So let me give you first kind of a background on what dahlias I have and how I store them over winter. So last year I grew 6 different dahlias. They were all in 7-gallon grow bags, and 5 of them I stored down in the garage, which means I have to carry it downstairs, which means then I have to carry them back upstairs for the new growing season. One of the 6 dahlias I tested overwintering in the plastic greenhouse out back. That one I already moved inside in a previous video, maybe a week or 2 ago. It hasn't sprouted yet, but it can take like 4+ weeks to see some sprouts. So I don't know, we'll kind of see if that one survived or not in a couple more weeks. But the 5 that were in the garage, what I'm gonna do is carry them upstairs. I'm going to store 4 of them in the guest bathroom because that's where I have the space to store it, and we don't have any guests coming the next few weeks. And then one of them I'm going to dig up and potentially divide it in a couple days. So 4 that I'm bringing up out of the 5 I just planted last year, so they're only about a year old. The one that I'm going to dig up and look at I think is 2 years old now. So I do want to see if I can potentially divide that, because it's always good to divide your dahlias so you can get more flowers that way instead of it becoming way too crowded in its container. So that's going to be the plan. I basically pre-sprout for 2 different reasons. One, to see if they're alive. That way I know before actually moving it out into the garden, which I tend to move my dahlias out the same time I plant out my tomatoes. They like warm weather also. But I like to know ahead of time in case I want to potentially plant some more dahlias, or I know just not to move them out in the first place. Second reason is that it makes them bloom earlier. So I will usually have, and I say usually, it's been 2 years, last year I had blooms by the end of June, which I feel like for dahlias is really early. So I give them about a month head start, I'd say. One of the downsides is, so obviously to sprout they don't need light, but once the green does poke above the soil, I do need to put them in light. So I basically shove them up against the glass doors here. I have to move them every time I go in and out. So it can be a little frustrating that way, but I think it's worth it to get a little bit head start on the plants. I might also try, instead of just shoving them against the window, again, playing around with the plastic greenhouse that's still set up, keeping them in there after they sprout. So we'll see how it goes. The previous year, so back in 2021, I just did 2 dahlias, and I think only one of them came back when I brought them inside to pre-sprout them. So I'm kind of going to see how this goes and what my success rate is. I'm hoping they all sprout, but if they don't, that's okay as well. So let me go ahead and go down and drag all of the bags up out of the garage. I'll show you where I put the 4 that I'm going to keep in the bathroom, and then I will dig up the other one that's now 2 years old. There are now 4 dahlias in my shower, which is totally normal, right? So I have here the 4 that I just planted last year. There's a Thomas A. Edison there. There is an Emery Paul there, which actually I think when it grew looked like a Michaela Miranda. So I don't think that one was labeled correctly from the store, not my fault. And then these 2 are Otto's Thrill. Now I think one of what was labeled Emery Paul last year never sprouted, so I never had that plant. The other Edison is the one that I tested in the greenhouse, which, you know what, might as well just go show you that one right now. So this is the other Thomas A. Edison. Again, I moved it inside a few weeks ago. Nothing really yet, except for this little tiny sprout that I'm assuming is coming from it. Like I said, that was just about a week or 2 ago, so I'm going to let this one sit here, and then the Penn Hill watermelon is the one that we are going to dig up today. Okay, so slight change of plans. I did dig down into the one that I think is the Penn Hill watermelon, and it didn't feel like there were a lot of tubers, and I also already saw some green sprouting on the stems. Now, I know if it already has sprouted, you can obviously still dig it up and divide it, but because it didn't feel very bulky, I'm gonna leave it for now. So that is now also back in there with the other 4. So I now have 5 bags in there, the one up front that was overwintered in the greenhouse, and that's it, basically. Pretty simple. Over winter, I did water them, I'd say about once a month, the ones in the garage. The ones in the greenhouse, everything there stayed so moist that I never added any water to any of the plants in there, but especially not the dahlia tuber. I would always check. I had it on my calendar for a monthly check-in, but I'd always dig my finger down, just double check it was actually dry before I went ahead and gave it some water, because you can lose tubers if they're too moist or too dry. So it's all about finding that balance. So that's actually it for this video. I was expected it to be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more entertaining, but I could save this and then show you them again when or if they are actually pre-sprouted, but that could be weeks. And if this is something that you want to do with your container dahlias, I think it'd be better to post this now, and then I will just give you an update later as they hopefully all sprout. So I think that's going to be everything for this video. I really do love growing dahlias. I think when I first started them, I assumed they would be a lot more difficult than they are, but growing them in containers and being able to store them just in the grow bags that they grow in has been really, really easy. So I don't dig them up or anything in the fall. Again, once they get larger, and I think I will divide them, I will probably do that just in the spring as well. And yeah, it's pretty simple. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.